The phone rang at 5:12 a.m. I remember the time because I was already awake, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the old house settle the way it always did before sunrise. At 72, sleep didn't come easily anymore. The ringtone cut through the quiet like a knife. I frowned. Nobody ever called me that early. I reached for my phone, squinting at the screen. Ethan, my grandson. My heart skipped. Ethan? I answered, my voice thick with sleep. Honey, what's wrong? There was breathing on the other end, fast, uneven, panic. Grandma, he whispered. You need to listen to me. Don't ask questions. Just listen. I sat up. What do you mean, sweetheart? It's barely dawn. Grandma, he said again, louder now, urgent. Do not go home. I froze. I am home, I said slowly. I'm in my bedroom. No, he snapped. Not today. Don't go outside. Don't open the door. If you were planning to leave, don't. My stomach tightened. Ethan, you're scaring me. I know, he said, his voice cracking. But please, promise me you won't go home. That doesn't make sense, I whispered. Why? There was a pause, then. Because the police are coming. The line went dead. I stared at my phone. My grandson had never spoken to me like that. Ever. Ethan was calm, thoughtful, too serious for his 17 years. He didn't panic. And he never hung up on me. I swung my legs out of bed and padded to the window. The street outside was still dark, the sky just beginning to lighten at the edges. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I told myself he was probably overreacting. Teenagers did that. Still, my hands were shaking. I made coffee I didn't drink. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the clock, replaying his words. Don't go home, Grandma. At 5:27 a.m., red and blue lights flashed across my walls. My breath caught. I rushed back to the window. 3 police cars rolled onto my street. Then another. And another. Doors opened. Officers poured out, some with radios, some with weapons drawn. They surrounded my house. My knees buckled. What in God's name? I whispered. A loudspeaker crackled to life. Margaret Collins, this is the police. Please exit your home slowly with your hands visible. My name. I felt dizzy. I hadn't broken the law in my life. I volunteered at the library. I baked cookies for church fundraisers. I paid my taxes early every year. Why were the police outside my house? And how did my grandson know? I reached for my phone again, hands trembling. Ethan? I whispered when he answered. They're here. I know, he said softly. Please trust me, Grandma. Stay inside. Do not open the door yet. Why? I cried. What's happening? He swallowed hard. Because they think you're involved in something you didn't do. I don't understand, I said, crouching behind my kitchen counter as if the police could see me through the walls. Ethan, what are they accusing me of? He hesitated. Then he spoke. Grandma, do you remember Uncle Daniel? My heart sank. Daniel, my late husband's younger brother, a man I hadn't spoken to in over 15 years. Yes, I said carefully. Why? Because his name came up in a case I was researching. Ethan was brilliant with computers. He helped his school with cybersecurity. He fixed my Wi-Fi when it blinked wrong. What kind of case? I asked. Financial crimes. Money laundering. Shell accounts. I felt sick. That has nothing to do with me. I know, he said quickly. But the problem is, your name is on one of the properties. My ears rang. What property? The house, he said. Your house. I gripped the counter. That's impossible. Your grandfather bought this house 40 years ago. Yes, Ethan said. But 2 years ago, a lien was filed. A quiet one. The ownership structure changed on paper. I remembered then Daniel had visited once years ago. He'd insisted on helping me update some documents. I'd trusted him. He was family. I didn't know, I whispered. I know you didn't, Ethan said. But the police think this house was being used to hide money. They think you were helping. Outside, officers shouted commands. I heard footsteps on my porch. Ethan, I said, tears streaming down my face. What do I do? You wait, he said. And you let me finish. Finish what? I sent everything to a detective friend of my teacher. Proof, paper, trails, messages. It shows you were used. My chest felt like it might burst. And the call? I asked. How did you know they were coming? I saw the warrant go through the system, he said. It wasn't supposed to be public yet. There was a knock on my door, firm, authoritative. "Grandma," Ethan said urgently. "They're going to ask you to come out. When they do, tell them to contact Detective Laura Reyes." The name meant nothing to me. "She has the file," he said. "She'll stop this." The knocking grew louder. "Police, open the door." I wiped my face, straightened my robe, and took a deep breath. "I love you," Ethan said quietly. "I love you too," I whispered. I walked to the door and opened it. The morning air was cold. Officers surrounded me, hands on holsters, eyes sharp. I raised my hands just like they told me to. "I'm Margaret Collins," I said calmly. "I've lived here since 1984. They escorted me to the sidewalk. A female officer wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. "Ma'am," a man in a suit said, stepping forward, "we have reason to believe this property is connected to—" "I know," I interrupted gently, "but you need to call Detective Laura Reyes." He blinked. "How do you know that name?" "My grandson told me," I said. There was murmuring among the officers. Radios crackled. A few minutes later, the man stepped aside to take a call. I watched his expression change. Confusion, surprise, then something like embarrassment. He returned to me, clearing his throat. "Mrs. Collins, it appears there's been a misunderstanding. Relief hit me so hard I had to sit down. Your nephew used your trust to conceal assets without your knowledge," he continued. "Your grandson uncovered evidence we hadn't seen yet." I laughed through tears. "That sounds like Ethan." The officers slowly lowered their weapons. The cars began to pull away. The man in the suit met my eyes. "You raised a remarkable young man," he said. Later that morning, Ethan arrived at my house. He hugged me tightly like he was afraid to let go. "I'm sorry," he said. "I wanted to protect you." "You did," I replied, holding his face in my hands. "You saved me." That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about the call at dawn. If I hadn't answered, if I hadn't trusted him, I might have walked straight into a nightmare. Instead, my grandson's voice, soft, shaking, brave, had guided me through the darkest morning of my life. And I knew then, sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they're just a scared kid on the phone, telling his grandmother not to go home.